Right then, Manchester United 1-1 versus Chelsea. 5 things we learned from the game. We'll be talking about Ugarte, Casemiro, and some other individual player performances from the game. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So, the first thing we learned, Garnacho was poor. Listen, Garnacho has been one of Manchester United's best players this season. If you look at stats and overall performance, he's been very, very solid. And I think his performance has just shone and reflected from that United team. But yesterday, his performance was embarrassing. He was making the wrong decisions. His performance wasn't to the standard. He wasn't defending effectively. He should have scored at least 2 or 3 goals. His decision making was off. And obviously, everyone's going to talk about that blatant one way he should have passed it to MAZRAOui. That was the most obvious one. But I don't think it was a performance that Garnacho would be happy about. It was great that Casemiro was telling him what to do, holding other players accountable. It's absolutely fantastic. Listen, Garnacho is a player who I've seen a massive shift of attitude. When he first came into that United team, he was fearless. He would attack players. He didn't really care about everything else going on. Now you can see like his attitude changing. He's constantly throwing his arms up in the air. I don't think his attitude. I think his attitude is really impacted now. I'm not saying he's had a negative attitude, but in the past, like Eric Ten Hag did talk about him not having that right attitude to be starting. Now, listen, Garnacho, Amorim needs to work a lot with Garnacho to get him to that speed. We know he has the potential to be one of the best wingers in the world, but again, potential is not anything unless you develop it and work it. And ultimately, Garnacho hasn't done that enough for Manchester United this season. I think he needs someone under his wing who can develop him. Listen, he shouldn't be signed every game for Manchester United. And the fact that when he has poor performances, he's back in the team straight after doesn't really help anyone, to be honest with you. And I think with Garnacho, he's a player who has struggled at times this season, but he's also had some very good games. This is his 3rd season now in the first team. At only 20 years, doing relatively well. Played over 100 games for Manchester United, but ultimately for me, he must be a player who's doing much better and taking accountability for himself. He probably knows that performance wasn't good enough. You can probably see that in the way that in the attitude. But it was just a poor decision making. Like the one with Bruno, he took all 4 Chelsea players back to the line and squared it to Garnacho. We had so much time and space to convert, but just couldn't. The left-footed one, obviously the decision to Mazraoui and then loses the ball. It was those little decisions that didn't help. But that is the first thing we learned. Garnacho was poor. Now number 2. Mazraoui excellent. Now he actually looks like the bargain of the summer. £12.8 million. It's absolutely fantastic. Look at what he can do. I think he looks way better at left back. He's very comfortable. He was overlapping. He was more involved in the attacking side rather than being much more controlled. And that's something that obviously he had admitted in his post-match interview. I think his performance yesterday was fantastic. Cole Palmer, MAZRAOui, Neto, whoever was on that side, he dealt with fantastically well. He made some very good last-ditch tackles. And yeah, he looks like one of the bargains of the summer. You look at, we kind of sold Wan-Bissaka for 15-20 million and we got Mazraoui for 12. It's a very, very good replacement. For me, he was excellent and has been Mr. Consistent for Manchester United in all the games he's played. Maybe by the first one where I thought he was a bit shaky, even though he wasn't bad in that game at all. His performances for United have been excellent. And he's had a very, very good performance since then. And against Chelsea, listen, they are very good opponents. He hasn't played too much at left back for Manchester United, but I definitely think under Amorim there could be a position for him where he can really excel and develop. So yeah, that's the second thing we learned. Mazraoui excellent. And number 3, United lack of quality. I don't think the midfield was great in terms of quality. I think when Amorim does come in, he will probably put Ugarte and Mainoo in there. I think Casemiro may get benched. And I don't think Casemiro was bad. He made some good challenges. But the midfield just wasn't careful and wary of what was going around when they didn't have the ball. Ugarte, like, we really do need Amorim to kind of develop him a lot more. He's still a player that looks raw. We've seen all of Ugarte. We've seen his good performances, his worst performances, and also some average performances. I think yesterday was just an average one from him. I think he did lose possession a lot. He made some sloppy challenges, and we're thinking he could get a red card. I think Ugarte needs to develop a bit more before he starts regular games for Manchester United. Yeah, it was just a total lack of quality from the attacking side, I think. I thought defensively we were okay. Yes, we did concede the goal, but it was from a set piece, and that's something we need to work on. I think set piece is obviously a huge part of the game. which I'll talk about later on. But yeah, we need to improve on that. As I said, the attacking, there's just no quality. You look at, we started Garnacho, Rashford and Højlund in that game. You look at the options we have coming off the bench. We have Ahmad, Wheatley and Anthony. I don't think Anthony was even on the bench. So the lack of quality in that United attacking department does really need to improve. I think Xerxes, obviously everyone's pinning that one-on-one against him, which he should have scored ultimately. It was a very simple just run and shoot, but obviously he hasn't got that pace. He just doesn't look confident and he is struggling at the minute. Garnacho wasn't great. Rashford hasn't done much this season. He's had a few good spells, but ultimately it wasn't a performance that many Manchester United had well, and it was a big lack of quality and a big shift off, and that's something Ruud needs to improve going into the next game against Pauk. And then Leicester on the weekend. We need to get the strikers finishing, because we are creating chances. And if you notice that when Højlund's off the pitch, he doesn't get the chances that Xerxes gets to score. But I do think that's Højlund he scores. But the third thing we learn is lack of quality. And number 4, defensive improvement. I thought the defence was very, very good yesterday. Yes, as I said, we did concede a goal, but it was from a set piece. And I think United, as a defensive unit, it hasn't been the biggest issue. Yes, we've conceded a lot of goals, but I don't think that was the biggest issue. I thought the attack let us down massively, but I thought the defence did very, very well. And the 5th and final thing we learned, I'm going to go in set piece issues. The set piece issues for United have been a massive worry. We've conceded a lot of goals from set pieces, and that be corners, free kicks. Like, we are conceding sloppy goals from set pieces. We conceded 2 in the week against Leicester, 1 against Chelsea. These need to be sounded out, whether that's clearing the ball, clearing your lines better, effectively, or whether that's just simply just saving the ball, being more careful and being alert at the edge of the box. The set pieces have been an issue. We've got a new set piece coach, but that doesn't seem to be working. And they were the 5 things we learned. Thanks for watching. Hope you did enjoy. Peace.